Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to the lesson number 15 of the series of tutorial on how to build a premium theme for WordPress. Welcome again. In this tutorial, we're gonna take a look at how to create the header section with our custom background that we previously activated in our theme support options. And we're gonna print this custom logo with our font icon and this background message. We're gonna start doing some pretty nice things in the front end. So let's get started. Let's access the header.php file, and right after the body opening tag, so inside the body tag, we can start writing our custom code. So first of all, because I'm using Bootstrap, I'm gonna use the logic of the grid of Bootstrap, of course. So I have to create a div with a class of container fluid. So Bootstrap has two classes, container and container fluid for the actual container. The container has a maximum width of 1170, while the container fluid is not bounded by any maximum width, so it spans for the entire width of the screen. And that's what I want for my header section. Then the body and the actual content of my blog post is going to be limited by a specific container size, but the header I want to be spanned 100% through all the device area, all the browser view or whatever. So let's use the container fluid. Let's close the div. Let's open it here and use a nice indentation to keep our code clean and easily readable. Now I want to create a row that is necessary to use the grid system in Bootstrap, that it's really powerful and we can really do a lot of things with that. For now, I'm gonna create a div with a class, the standard class of call XS12. Bootstrap has 12 columns as a grid based on 12 columns. So if I put call dash XS, I'm saying to Bootstrap, to the CSS, that this div has to be big, has 12 columns, while is the media queries, the current media query is extra small. And because I'm not specifying any other media queries option, I'm not specifying medium, large, small, this div is gonna be 12 columns throughout all the different media queries, so it's not gonna change. So before proceeding on writing our WordPress and PHP functions, I want to just spend a couple of minutes on the actual style of a proper HTML file. Now it's still very readable, but could happen that sometimes we have something like this. And this is really confusing. That could happen when we have this structure. We have to work on this structure. We can easily lose the position or where we are, where a div is opening, where a div is closing, especially if we have multiple divs. Like, I don't know which div is closing which, and that could be really confusing. So the easiest way and the cleaner way for yourself and other developers that could work on this theme is to create comments in HTML to properly style and to properly state what kind of div has been closed by this tag. So for example, this div /div is closing the call XS12. So let's copy the class, let's put a dot to specify this is a class, and then let's put all these statement in a comment. So now I know that this div is closing this column XS. And this is way easier to understand. I can do the exact same for the other two divs, the container fluid and the row. I'm using the dot because in this way, I'm telling to myself or whatever other developer that this is a class. So I can use, maybe if I use an ID, I can use the hashtag symbol. So I will know that this is an ID div, but because I'm using a dot, I know that this is the row class. So I can scroll back. Okay, this div starts here and closes here. And sometimes I like to separate the container and the row with an extra space. I know that this could be confusing, especially in larger views, but sometimes it's better in separating stuff. You could also leave all the grid system with the row all compact all together and separate the container with an extra space. This is easier, way easier to read and understand, and you're not gonna get lost with all these closing divs. An extra closing div can really destroy your entire theme, or a missing closing div can also destroy your entire HTML structure. So let's be careful and let's try to be as clean as possible when we code our HTML structure. Inside here, we can start using a class. So sometimes other developers like to put the custom class, for example, like this custom header inside the same class, the same column, but I don't want this because I don't like to edit the native grid of Bootstrap. I like to put stuff inside the grid of Bootstrap and avoid to create confusion, to create issues. So in this way, I'm gonna create another div called header container. And this my header container. Also, in this case, I wanna put the comment at the end with the specific class, so I can open this tag and not get lost in these closing divs. Inside here, we can use the class text center, that is a pre-built class of Bootstrap, to align center all my text. Plus, I'm gonna customize this header container with a specific CSS attributes to put it at a specific height. But before doing that, I wanna put in this header container the background image that is gonna be my custom header. So if we access the design file, we will see that the background image spans throughout all the width and height of this container and goes also underneath the menu. So my menu is gonna be inside this header container. In this case, we're gonna have three divs. The first div is the one that I created. The header container is the generic. Then I'm gonna have a second div that is the container of my title and my subtitle, and these elements are vertically central aligned, and this other div that is gonna be the container of my menu. So let's create this structure. Let's put a little bit of space and let's put div class header, header content, and these are the one div class nav container. Personally, I like to use this structure when I code multiple divs inside. So the generic, the overall container, I use always what it is, then a dash and then container. And then because I have the content inside and I have to wrap the content around something, I want to use the same prefix. So also this one is the header and then dash content, to be like more readable also in a class. Also in this case, let's put the classes here and the nav container. Let's put the class nav container here. Probably I will have to change the nav container if this nav container is already used by Bootstrap, but I don't actually remember. So for now, I'm gonna leave it like that. I'm not gonna worry about it. Before proceeding, I have to put the background image here as an inline statement because I cannot call the custom header, the custom background header in the CSS file. So I have to call it here inside the PHP, the header.php file, and I have to put it in style, inline style as a background image. So let's open the HTML attribute style inside the our header container div and use the background image column URL, and inside here we can use the PHP function to call the custom header, and the PHP function is just simply header underscore image with no options inside the bracket. So this statement, this function is gonna print automatically the header image. Save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh it and let's check the page source. So here we have our nice style align HTML, whatever we wrote. And here we don't have a background URL, it's completely empty because we didn't put the actual background image. So let's access the backend and let's go inside the appearance menu and let's go inside the header. WordPress is going to open the customizer and we can click on header image and we can add a new image. I already exported the file, the header file of the sunset theme. You can just easily extract a layer and export it with a blur or upload your own custom image. So select and crop. I don't want to crop it, so skip cropping. I want to use the entire image, so save and publish. Okay, it's saved. Let's refresh the source code and now we see that here we have our header image, the actual PNG. So if we refresh the front end, nothing appears because of course the div, the header container div, is short. It's basically, its height is 0 pixel because there's no content inside. But we don't want the height to be dependent on the content. We want this height to be always consistent. So we have to start styling a little bit our CSS. I know that the height of the header is 326 pixels, so I'm gonna state this in my custom CSS. Let's open the CSS folder and let's open the sunset.css. Inside here, we can put the usual comment with our CSS content, and let's use the package sunset theme. And here, let's put another comment to divide our different sections. So this one is the header. Let's put a bunch of dashes to create a little bit of separation. And here we can start using header container. And I want the header container to be a position relative with a display block and height of 326 pixel. Save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh it. And now we have the header section here that is 326 pixels. So something funny is happening because the image that I uploaded is not as big as the container. I'm seeing these stuff. I'm seeing these issue here. So the image is repeated. It's not central aligned. It's not nice. And even if I resize it here, it's not resizing properly. So we have to create a specific class to customize this option. In order to do that, because this is a generic class that probably I will reuse in the future, I want to create another section in the CSS and call it generic. The generic class is going to be background image, and the background image class that I want to use has a bunch of different attributes. So I want to use background position. First of all, I want to be center and center, so no matter what's the size, has to be center aligned. The background size has to be the cover. It means that automatically the CSS is gonna expand the image to fill completely the div that is the container, so it's gonna act as a cover. And plus, I wanna remove the background repeat, and we want to state no repeat because the background doesn't have to repeat. So now I have to use this class and apply the class to the header container background image. Save it. Let's refresh it. And now, as you can see here, it's center aligned, it spans for full 100%. If I resize it, automatically gets resized. So it's always center aligned and it doesn't create any issue and it maintains the proper proportion and it's not getting repeated. So it's really, really nice. So now that I see the actual size, I don't really like that this is going 100%. I know we have a bunch of padding on the left and right, but we can easily remove it. But I don't like the effect of this header going full size, full screen. It's not really my thing. I really like when it's like this, it's really contained and doesn't go 100%. So let's put a limit. Let's change the class from container fluid just to container. So it's gonna be limited to the actual size of the containers, 1170, and it's way better. It's way easier. Kind of like it, especially on bigger screen, and is gonna be by default responsive. It's gonna maintain the responsiveness of the media queries of Bootstrap. That it's really nice. It's up to you. If you want, you can go 100%. You can put a style to remove the padding. So it's really up to you. I kind of like it this way. It's better for me. Seriously, I like it more. So let's keep it like that. Let's keep going. Now in the header content, we want to print the information of my title and subtitle of the page. So let's create an h1 tag called site title. And inside here, I want to print with WordPress function, open and close the PHP tag. I want to print the blog info. And the information that I want to print is the name of the blog. And here, let's put an h2, let's put an h2 tag called site description. And here, I want to put pretty much the same, always PHP tag, but in this case, I want to print blog info instead of the name. I want to print the description and semicolon. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh it. And now we have sunset. Don't worry, just right. So we have all the information that are inside our settings, general settings, the site title, and the tagline. Of course, is ugly as hell. We have to style it properly, and we have to center it align. We have to replace this and change a bunch of options. So let's start styling this stuff. So to make a div vertically central align, it's kind of tricky. There are a lot of options. There are a couple of options that you can adopt. The easiest way is the Flexbox. Using the Flexbox is really nice, but unfortunately it's still not fully supported by every browser. So we have to stick with a trick that I learned after many hours of swearing and sweating on the keyboard, and is forcing the div to act like a table and create another div to act like a table cell and then central align everything. So let's do that. Let's put the head and content, another class called table. Table. And now let's put another div inside here called table cell. And let's wrap all these two elements inside the table cell, and of course put the comment of whatever div this is closing. So now we have table and table cell. Let's go back in our CSS file, and also here in the generic section we can leave a little bit of space and call table, and we can put class display table table width 100% and height 100%. Always specify these two values because the table automatically is gonna collapse on the width and height of the content. So we want the table to span the 100% of the width and height and not being like super small. And the other class that I have to create is the table cell. And also here I want to be display table cell. And here I want width 100%, height 100% as well. But now I want to specify the vertical align middle and semicolon at the end. Save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh it. And now we have this that is actually center align. Of course, it doesn't look like it's center align, but this is because of the margin top that by default the h1 tag has. If I remove the margin top and I put it at 0, this one is nicely center aligned, and this is gonna remain center aligned no matter what height I have the container. So if I dynamically change the container height, you will notice here it remains always vertically center aligned, and this is an amazing achievement because it's really complicated to achieve in CSS and be comfortable with everything with Flexbox. So by using a fake table div, we can nicely center align everything. So now let's start styling the subtitle. That is the easiest part. So now here we have a custom font with our font icon, and then we have another custom font. I'm using Railway, that is a Google font. So I have to do two things. I have to integrate the CSS file, the CSS style of my font icon that I generated in the first lesson, and then I have to integrate the Google font inside my theme. So my theme is gonna use always and only Google font. So let's do that. Let's access our browser and let's search for Google font Railway. That is the font that I'm using. Let's access the specific page and let's open Railway in Google Fonts. So let's check what we wanna use in our site. This is really nice because we can check which font weight we want to use with kind of style, if we need extra thin, extra light, or just simply light. So I know that I want to use extra light, normal, and medium. I'm not gonna use semi-bold, bold, extra bold, and you will notice here the more stuff you check, the more the page load increases. So always try to avoid something that you don't really need. So maybe the medium, I don't need it, and it's gonna lower the page load. So I probably should maintain light, extra light, and normal. Of course, you can always change it. You can always go back and update, check and uncheck different options and grab the proper code. So now here we have the code generated by Google to use this implementation, and of course we have to point to the specific googleapis.com file. To do that in WordPress, let's copy this file, let's copy this string, and I saw some developer just manually pasting the Google file here. This is not the proper way. This is kind of sketchy. It's better not to do it. To do it properly and to manage everything in a better way, always use the enqueue file. So let's reopen the enqueue file, and here in our sunset load script, let's enqueue the style in a proper way. Let's write wp underscore enqueue style. Also in this way, I'm not gonna register the style because the font, the Railway font, has to be used in all the pages of my site. So I don't need to register the site and then enqueue it on specific pages. So let's just register the site. And here I wanna use as a string handle the name of the font. So Railway, and the mixed search has to be the full URL of the Google font. So as a string, let's paste it here. Let's remove all these other HTML parts that I don't need, and then we can remove all these other parts. By default, it's gonna be all. By default, it doesn't have an array, doesn't have a version because it depends on the Google font. So just put Railway and the full URL of the Google font. Let's save it. Let's go back in our CSS file and still in the generic section before anything else, because it's kind of important. Let's specify body and the font size. We can copy the option of the font family from the Google font page. So let's specify that our body have to have a font family of Railway, and after that we can roll back to Helvetica Neue. Then we can roll back to Helvetica if we have it. Then we can roll back to Arial, Verdana, and sans serif. So pretty safe now every time. Oh, Helvetica. Capital H. So now we have kind of a better control. We implemented the font family, our custom font family. If for whatever reason the Google font is not loading properly, we can roll back to one of these and probably our website is not gonna look super crappy without its proper font. Let's go back in the front end. Let's refresh our front end, and you will notice that now the font is changed. So now we can style this option here. So sometimes happens that we are coding our new theme and we don't have a proper design file like this one with everything is nicely styled. Maybe we're doing something super quickly, we're fixing some stuff. So to do that, I suggest you, instead of coding everything and then checking how the code it's looking and how it's working, you can code everything directly inside the inspector element. So if we have site decoration here, you can write in the element and you can write like font size 14 pixels, and then you can put color white, and you can check how everything is working. So it's easier to see live whatever you're doing, if something you're doing is wrong, is right or not. And then after that, you can copy this entire section and copy paste it and put it inside your CSS file. So let's copy this section here. Let's put down in the header here dot site description. We have our font size and color. And we have site title, color white. Save it. Let's refresh it. Now we have the title and we have the subtitle. Let's check. We have a different padding here. So we have to remove the padding, plus we have a box text shadow for all the content of this page, so of this container. So we can use the same settings for the box shadow and create a text shadow for all the elements inside the container. And because all the elements have a text shadow, we can apply the text shadow to the container of this, to the div container, not to every single content. So it's 40% to 1 pixel of offset and 2 pixel of blurriness. So let's write it down in our header container. Let's write text shadow 0, 1 pixel, 2 pixel, RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0.4. Save it. Let's check our front end, refresh, and now we have the proper text shadow. So how the text shadow works. The first parameter is the X parameter. So where your shadow should be on the horizontal line. If it's positive, it's gonna go on the right. If it's negative, it's gonna go on the left. The second parameter is the Y parameter. So if it goes up and down, if it's positive, it's gonna go down. If it's negative, it's gonna go up. The third parameter is the blurriness. So how blur you want the shadow to be. If you want just a super sharp shadow, you just put it on 0. If you want a super blurry and super like fade out shadow, you can put like 10, 20, whatever. And this is the color. I use RGBA so I can specify the color, the full color, that 000 is black, and then I can put an alpha value as a fourth parameter, and I'm gonna have the shadow with 40% of opacity. And now we have our proper style. So now we have our thing. Let's remove the padding. Site title, I want a margin of 0. And then the site description, I want a margin top of 0.4 EM. So the EM is the emphasis value, and the emphasis value is always better to use it in a responsive environment. So in my case, I'm creating a responsive style. So the emphasis is not a fixed unit. Basically, it depends on the font size. So if I put 1 AM, it means that the margin top is going to be 1 of the font size. So it's going to be 14. If the font size varies, if the font size goes to 20 or to 30, the margin top is going to be 20 and 30 because it's 1. If the margin top is another number, automatically the CSS is going to do the conversion. So the margin of whatever attribute you have the emphasis specified is going to change automatically based on the font size. And this is really helpful, especially for the line height and in a responsive environment, because if I improve the font size, also the margin top is gonna increase incrementally based on the font size. It's not gonna create weird issues, because if I put a margin top of 2 pixel, it doesn't matter what kind of font size I have. If I have 50 pixel font size, it's gonna be always 2 pixel. And if I have 10 pixel of font size, it's gonna always be 2 pixel. And I don't really want that. I want this theme to be fluid. So I want this theme and option to be adaptable based on whatever environment I am and whatever value I have. So always use the emphasis to specify margin and padding if you want this to be adaptable, if you want this to be responsive. The last thing that I want to do, I want to replace this title with the actual font icon. If you remember, in the lesson number 1, I downloaded the font and I put the font inside the fonts folder, the font icon, but I didn't put the actual style.css. So in my download folder in style.css, we open what I downloaded from iCommune. I have the code of my custom sunset icon. What I can do, I can copy this and paste it here before the generic section. We can paste it here and copy the comment here and paste it here and put font icon as a comment name. So I know that this is font. So the folder is different. It's not inside the CSS. So I have to go up a level to tell where the actual font folder is. So 2 dots and dash to go up a level. Paste it everywhere, and I'm not gonna change any of this. What I could do, because I don't need to edit this code, I don't even actually need to read, I could select them all, and if you have a preprocessor, you can remove all the line breaks and kind of minify everything. You could also convert the tab to spaces, and that's it. Pretty easy. It wasn't too painful. So now we have our font size here, we have our custom font icon, and we can use it. And we know that the font family is sunset icon, so we have to use this class sunset icon to apply the specific font family sunset icon to that specific section. So let's go back in the header and the site title. We can do a little bit of trick. So I actually want to print this, because I don't want to remove it, because the browser search engines are reading this stuff. They read the H1, H2 tags of my theme. So I don't want to delete this information, but I want to hide this information to the actual user. I don't want to use this. So I can wrap just the name, not the entire H1 class title, around a div or a simple span with a class called hide. And the class hide is a pre-built class of Bootstrap. It's gonna automatically hide my title, even if inside the HTML, if we access the source, we still have sunset, so this information is still readable by the search engine and the browser. The user won't see anything. So now we can print our custom font size. So let's go back here. Let's write another span with a class of my actual font. So I have to access the sunset CSS, and I know that sunset logo. Sunset logo is the class that comes with the actual logo. So let's grab this class and let's put it here in the header where I created these headers, span, and then let's put the wrapper of the Sunset font, the actual class that comes with the font family, Sunset icon, inside the actual wrapper, the H1 site title. Let's save it. Let's go back here, let's refresh it, and now we have our nice logo. It's kind of small, but of course we have a class site title that we can change it. So we can put font size, let's put a font size of 20 pixel, it's way smaller, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Let's check the design file. It's kind of the same size of the site description, so let's do that. And 80 pixel, it's kind of okay. And now I can just copy paste these inside site title in CSS, size title, font size 80, and I can increment a little bit the margin top, because now I don't have any more the necessity of having it so tight, but the actual site description can have more room. That could be 1 AM. Let's see the design file. It's fairly identical. So let's put 1 AM as a margin top. And the front end, refresh it, and that's it. Now we have our custom font icon on the title. Even if the user changes the title, this is gonna remain our custom font title. And we have the site description, and we have the wrapper around for the header that is fully responsive, and also the background image is nicely aligned and nicely span 100% of the container. In the next lesson, we're gonna create the menu here inside the same container, and we're gonna split evenly this section with also the menu item to maintain this part always 100% and always vertically aligned. So it's pretty much it for this lesson. I hope you enjoy it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you really like my tutorial, please spend a couple of minutes in checking the support me page on my website, where you can find a bunch of different things that you could do to support me and my channel and help me to do more and better tutorials for you. So thank you again, guys, and until the next lesson, as usual, happy coding.